Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Gunthrek Chats video. Today I want to talk about mentorship and why it is so important, and the unfortunate fact that it's just not something that's being talked about very much, as far as I can tell from the various things that I've seen on the internet. It's a common view. I think everybody can kind of understand that men in general tend to be struggling these days when it comes to a societal standpoint, financially as well. I mean, some of us, like myself, I'm struggling pretty hard. I have been struggling quite hard for a while with the financial thing because, you know, I've entered a phase of my life where certain kinds of things are very difficult for me to deal with, and I just kind of don't want to deal with them anymore if I don't have to. And I've been trying to find a way out of the rat race that is the way that work has been structured in this modern world. But setting that aside, I think that a lot of men have a little bit of bitterness from the fact that it seems like, you know, we've really spent a long time addressing issues for people like women or minorities or things like that. And those things absolutely should be addressed. They absolutely should have gotten the attention that they've gotten. But it feels like we're continuing to fixate on these things that, for the most part, you know, there's still pockets of problems around the country and around the modern civilized world. There's still pockets of problems, but overall, you know, these things aren't nearly as bad as they were when these issues were first starting to be identified. And we now live in a world where most women have the same opportunities as men. Most minorities have the same opportunities as the people who live in countries where whatever their majority is. And it's not the same environment that it used to be. But the focus of this episode is going to be on the fact that a lot of people are trying to address this whole problem with men thing, that there's just a lot of content out there talking about, you know, men and why they're failing and why they're doing this and why they're doing that. You know, there's motivation, there's discipline, there's a lot of different things out there that are pointed to as reasons for why men are struggling. But I would like to posit that the absolute biggest reason why men are struggling in today's era is because at some point in the recent past, we moved away from the idea that mentorship by older men was something that was really important. We put school for the longest time we had, you know, apprenticeship programs. For most of human civilization, we've had older men teaching younger men how to do certain things to provide them with a skill set, to provide them with confidence, to provide them with the things that they would need to be successful in the world. You spent a significant portion of your life with your father or maybe some master of a trade imparting knowledge and wisdom and confidence, and this is how you do this and this is how you do that. And when you got to the end of that process, you felt equipped to go out into the world and to do things. And that's something that men really need as part of the makeup of who they are, as part of the thing that makes them able to go out into society and not only be a contributing member of society, but also just to be attractive to women and to start a family and to become that kind of mentor themselves. I think the biggest problem that men have today is that we're just really highly unmotivated. We're not motivated in the slightest to want to try to do anything with our lives because it just feels like nothing that we do is ever going to get us towards the goals that we want out of our lives. And it's really hard to find the desire to get up and go do something when you feel like none of it really matters in the first place. Especially if you're I'm not going to get here and get into a sob story or anything like that, but I know that for myself, over the course of my life, I've had to start over several times. And that's not a new story. There's many people who have had to start over and, you know, bad things happened and things didn't work out for them. Just decisions were made, choices were made, or you just got unlucky or whatever. But it feels like in the past, when you got knocked down and you got up and you tried to go do something else, there was hope that maybe you could, you know, recover from that and do something. And for whatever reason, it just feels like there is no hope today in this modern world. Now, is anything really that different from, 50 to 100 years ago as far as the opportunities that are available to us? Well, yeah, I think so a little bit. The advent of technology and the way that things have moved have made it much harder to become an expert in anything, to produce something that is new enough that people are going to want it versus, a big company. We've gotten to the point where it kind of requires big companies with big resources to make anything better. Very rarely do we have any new inventions coming out for, say, that are, just completely change people's lives. It's always a big company that comes out with that kind of stuff. But for the most part, nothing is really that different. You can always go out and find another job. I mean, obviously the job market right now kind of sucks, but in general, there has been periods of history where finding a job was hard and people still figured out a way to make it work. They were still motivated to go out and try. They were still motivated to go out and do these things. And why? Why were people, what makes it possible for a man to be motivated to go out and do things? Well, some men are just, some men are just by default, by their very nature, they're aggressive and self-motivating, and they're able to go out into the world and do these things. But for the vast majority of men, it's support from somebody who knows better. If you have an older person in your life who has a bunch of experience, somebody that you respect for the things that they've done, for the accomplishments that they have, even if it's just for their point of view in the world, it's easy to be inspired by that kind of a person. And I think the biggest difference from the old world to the new world that we have now is that more men took more of an interest in the next generation, trying to inspire them to do better with their lives. They took them under their wing. They gave them advice. They tried to push them forward. They saw the potential of this young person who doesn't know anything and push them towards a goal of some kind. Even if it wasn't necessarily the goal that the young person wanted, they were at least trying to guide them and push them and get them to do something with their life rather than just sitting around and doing nothing. And I think it's important to remember that for men especially, inspiration is one of the key things that gets us to get out of bed and go after something, to go after a dream. If you're inspired by a dream or by a goal, or you have something that you want to get done with your life, there's a certain amount of motivation that comes with that, but that it can only really take you so far. Obviously, you have to have a decent amount of discipline. You have to have the ability to, force yourself to get up out of bed, force yourself to get up, force yourself to go to work, force yourself to put the effort into whatever it is that you're trying to get done. But as I said earlier, not everyone is able to just self-motivate that way. The vast majority of people aren't able to just self-motivate that way. I think most people are capable of going out and doing the bare minimum of whatever is required to be able to exist, right? Like, you have to have a job, you have to make a certain amount of money, you have to be able to do this, you have to be able to do that, or you're going to die. So, I think the vast majority of men are capable of doing that. But there's a reason why you see most of us sitting around just freaking around on video games or just watching TV or not really doing anything with our spare time. And it's because, some of us tried to do things, we didn't get anywhere with our efforts, and then it becomes a problem of, you really become unmotivated by the fact that you tried, you failed, you tried, you failed, you tried, you failed. And at a certain point, you're just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And this is where mentorship is really important. This is the part where mentorship becomes something that is necessary in any society, because it's when you're down, it's when you're struggling, it's when you can't see a path forward that you turn to the person who has the ability to stand outside of that, to see your potential, to kind of gently guide you, or maybe not so gently, guide you towards whatever it is that you're trying to get done. There used to be a time where we men as adults put time and effort into younger generations. And over the last few generations, that's just something that isn't nearly as important as it used to be. And, I'm as guilty of it myself. I have a hard time putting my time and effort into the people I should be putting time and effort into. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm simply identifying an issue here. I know that I struggle in my life because I didn't really have much in the way of mentors. The few mentors that I did have in my life actually got me to do things with my life. One of the biggest mentors was the drum major of my unit at 29 Palms, the Marine Corps band at 29 Palms. He went out of his way to try to motivate me to put some time and effort and change my attitude to pursue an interest that I had. I wanted to be a drum major, or at least I had a vague interest in being a drum major. But, he kind of came in, figuratively kicked me in my ass and said, hey, start working on this, cut your hair and do some, and start focusing on this stuff. And I developed a serious interest in wanting to be a drum major in the Marine Corps. People like that who actually take an interest and put a foot forward and try to, put themselves into your life are one of the biggest reasons why most men find success in their life. It's really, really hard to do these things on your own. It's almost impossible to do these things on your own unless you happen to be one of those very rare people who are self-motivating and obsessed with whatever idea it is that you're going after. For the rest of us, we really just need supportive, older mentors who can come in and give us the inspiration to try again, even when it seems like there's no hope. Because when there's no progress in your life, when you're not able to move forward, it is the support of people who believe in you that is going to inspire you to do more, to keep trying until you finally make it. So I think that for the most part, the biggest number one reason why men are struggling, why men have this perception in the world, why men have so many things that are happening, and why there's such a big discussion about it is that we're doing it to ourselves. Men aren't mentoring the next generation. Men aren't putting effort into making the next generation of men better than they were. And because we've been so self-focused on who we are and what we want, and we've been so absorbed with that we've completely forgotten about the younger generations below us. That's why we are where we are. And that's why men are where they are. And if we ever want it to become a better place, then we need to start being better fathers to our sons and better mentors to the younger generation. And that's the only way that things are going to get better. There is no societal change that is going to be imposed by a government or by an organization or by anybody else. It requires you being a man for the younger generation, and that's the only way that men are going to get better. So hopefully that makes sense. I do my best to try to be as dispassionate about these kinds of things, but I still have important things that I want to say. So if you got anything out of that, be sure to click the like button, hit the subscribe button to help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers so that we can get this channel monetized, just like my gaming channel. Be sure to go check out the gaming channel as well if you're interested in all of that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to come back for the next episode, and I'll see you then.